She's going to give a sincere apology. She feel bad about things that happen. You can tell that she's sorry. Okay, so she's trying to amends and make things better between black females and black men. So it seems like, they're ready for a change. They want to start all over and do things the right way.
Which one came first? Did women cause hurt or harm to little boys who then became men, and then they caused hurt and harm to women or little girls? Or did men cause hurt or harm to little girls who then became women who inflicted that hurt and harm on men and little boys? See, I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know if the women inflicted hurt and harm on their sons, who then in turn caused them to inflict hurt and harm and pain on women, or if the men did it to the women and then the women did it to the men from a child state. But what I do know is that I've been doing work over the last 2 years, and I've gotten to this point where part of my work is healing my relationship with the masculine. And that has caused me to sit with anger and resentment that I've carried towards men, that I've carried in my body, carried in my heart, that was literally passed down to me through my DNA. And I've gotten to this point where I realized that someone owes someone an apology. And who owes the apology first? Is it the women to the men, the little boys, or is it the men to the women and the little girls? Who owes the apology first? And I don't know that answer either of who should apologize. But what I do know is that as a woman who has been doing this work, I have been called to make amends with men who I recognize that I inflict pain on, that I hurt them in some capacity. It may not be physical harm that I cause to them, but definitely emotional harm, definitely withholding love and affection, definitely not being able to express and be vulnerable with them because I was holding so much anger and resentment towards them because of the harm and hurt that I had experienced from men as a child and as an adult. And what I did was perpetuate the same cycle that had been passed down to me. See, this was given to me. I didn't ask for it. It was given to me like a gift. And I get to choose to say if I want to keep this gift or if I want to give it back. And I choose to give it back. So I choose to make amends with men and to say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry as a black woman for the hurt and harm that I've caused black men. Unbeknownst to me, unintentional, sometimes maybe even intentional, because the hurt and harm that I experienced by men that caused me to then perpetuate that same cycle. See, the cycle is not working for me. It's not working for me to stay in that cycle of dysfunction or causing hurt and harm to men because of the hurt and harm that I experienced, or to hold on to the anger and resentment because of the hurt and harm that I experienced at the hands of men. And so I just want to publicly say that I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the women, and apologizing on behalf of women, on behalf of the mothers who wasn't emotionally available to their sons and who punished their sons for the pain that they experienced by men from their adult life or even in their childhood. The mothers who parentified their sons, the mothers who didn't see their son as valuable and he only saw himself as valuable what he can give, the mothers who did not nurture and comfort their sons, who became these men who did not know how to give the very thing that we wanted to us because they never received it from a woman. They never received that from a woman, and yet we asked them that and we required that of them, something they had never received. And it's the same thing for women who never received this from men because these men were hurt and harmed by women. How do we break the cycle? How do we stop the dysfunction? How do we end the war? How do we end the war? And I think that someone has to be willing to say, I am so sorry. I am so sorry for the hurt and harm I inflicted upon you. You didn't deserve that. You didn't deserve it as a little boy. You didn't deserve it as a man. And although that does not negate the pain that I felt and the hurt and harm that I experienced by men, what I'm saying is someone has to be willing to say, I'm sorry. And someone has to be willing to say, will you forgive me? Will you forgive me for the pain that I caused you? And until we can say that and truly mean it and truly understand the pain that we inflicted upon one another, because the hurt and harm that we experienced from one another, where it was a lack of something that we didn't receive from the mother or the father, or something that happened that a man or woman actually did to us, when do we let it go? And so for me, in my journey and healing my experience with the masculine, I'm saying I am deeply sorry. I deeply apologize for the harm I caused, specifically to black men.